Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Carmel, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I conceal my hyperpigmentation. So I've been suffering with darkening of the skin for a couple of years now, and although it doesn't really bother me on a day-to-day basis, sometimes I do want just a bit more of a polished look. So today I'm going to be showing you some just tips and techniques that I use to conceal mine. So if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, then please do keep on watching. I did just want to reiterate what I said in the intro, that my hyperpigmentation, melasma, does not bother me on a daily basis. I have kind of just accepted that that is part of who I am. However, there are some occasions where I do just want everything to look a little bit more put together and polished, and that's what I'll be sharing with you today. So I think there's sometimes a little bit of confusion as to what hyperpigmentation is, and it's literally just darkening of the skin, but there are different causes. So think of hyperpigmentation as the umbrella, and there are lots of different things that come from that umbrella. It's basically just when the skin produces excess melanin. Hyperpigmentation can be like mine, which is melasma, which is patches across the forehead and on the face. However, they can appear in the form of age spots, freckles. It's such a huge bracket, which is why I generally use the umbrella term of hyperpigmentation. The most frustrating thing about this is it's really hard to cover. So it generally shows up in a kind of a brown shade, because melanin does tend to be brown and black. And the other frustrating thing is that just mixing in with other tones in your skin. So there can be blue in there, there can be yellow in there, and normal foundations generally will not cover hyperpigmentation, because foundations are there to even out your skin tone. They're not there for concealing and for neutralizing pigment. Okay, so today, honestly, it's very, very easy what I do, but it's not going to be absolutely perfect. We have to have realistic expectations. You know, we are all human and our faces are not supposed to look perfect. So just keep that in mind as we go through this. So it's really, really important that you prep your skin no matter where your hyperpigmentation is, whether it's on your face or your forehead. So I've just used a moisturizer and I've used an SPF. We're just going to take this step by step. And the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to use a primer, and we're going to go for a sticky adhesive type primer. One of my favorite sticky primers is this one from NYX. This is NYX The Face Glue Gripping Primer. So this actually, it does look like glue. It does, yeah, but it's really moisturizing feeling, and you don't need a lot of it. You're just going to look at where you have those little bits of discoloration. So on me, I do have it on my cheeks, but I'm not bothered about it, so I'm not going to do it there. Mine are in the form of freckles, so I'm not going to bother with that, because I kind of like the freckles when they appear. But on my forehead, I've got some here, I've got some here and here, and it's annoying because it's so irregular. So it is concentrated right at the top of my forehead, but it kind of branches out. So I'm just going to rub this all around that area, and just make sure that you are going all around that area where you can see the discoloration. And I'm going to go around here as well and just rub that in. Now, if I go in with the foundation now, yes, it will tone down those tones on my head. However, it's not going to fully cover it, because what we need to do is we need to neutralize some of those brown tones that are in the pigment, because melanin, again, is made up of brown pigment. So what I like to do is I like to take a corrector. And the shade of corrector that I'm going to use is peach. We're using a peach color corrector. It's going to help to soften the tones in that melanin. So I am going to be using a relatively light peachy color. If you've got more fair skin, I would go for an even lighter shade of peach than this, and if you have a deeper skin tone, I would go for more of an orange or a red. So this is the shade 02 Peach in the Morphe. This is the Wakeup Artist Under Eye Correcting Concealer. So that's the shade that I'm going for, and it basically just means that my concealer does not have to work as hard. So we've got that primer down, that's nice and sticky and set now, and I'm going to just use my finger for this. So I'm just going to take my ring finger, and I'm going to focus on where my discoloration is, and I'm just going to, first of all, just cover that whole area. Now, you don't want to go too far outside the area. You're just focusing on the bit that has the hyperpigmentation, discoloration. And then we're going to find the bits over here. Now the trick I always find when it comes to covering hyperpigmentation is to not overblend. I know that kind of goes against everything that we learn. If you keep going in and tapping, you're actually going to end up pulling up some of the product. So I just like to gently just make sure that the edges are all nice and blended out. If I just go in with, let's say, I just went in with a concealer, you might still see some kind of grayed out tones underneath because it's not fully neutralizing the pigment that we're trying to conceal, if that makes sense. And it's okay, once you've used the color corrector, it's not supposed to completely get rid of the hyperpigmentation. It's just going to help this concealer go on over the top. So you can see how much of a difference that's already made. And I know that there are going to be some people who'll say, oh my gosh, I just can't be bothered using a corrector and then going in with other products over the top. And that's absolutely fine. You don't need to be bothered. I'm not bothered on a daily basis. But if you want actual correction, if you want actual concealing of these areas, you do just have to put in a little bit more effort, unfortunately. I did mean to say that I don't have any other makeup on my face right now, just my skincare, that's all. So next, we are going to move on to concealer, and I want you to think about this as the camouflage step. And for this, I want you to take the most full coverage concealer you have. There's one concealer that I have that is absolutely perfect for this job, and it's this one from It Cosmetics. It's the Bye Bye Under Eye. Don't worry that it is Bye Bye Under Eye. This is Bye Bye Anything. So this is a full coverage, anti-aging, waterproof concealer, and I have this in the shade 20 Medium Neutral. Now, it's a little bit light for me now, but don't worry about that. It is really thick and it's kind of sticky, and it's perfect for a job like this. Now, you don't need a lot of this. So I'm going to take a couple of dabs to start with, just like this, and a bit over here. You can use your fingers for this, but I've been using this brush. I actually got it free as a gift with purchase, would you believe? It's the MAC 19OS brush, and it's flat. And that is so ideal because I'm not tempted to swipe around the face. Instead, it encourages me to pat, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to hold it parallel to my head, and I'm just going to start tapping. Don't overblend it, okay? Just keep tapping. And don't worry if you can still see the discoloration underneath. You are still going to see a little bit of it. Now, I could do really with a darker shade of this, but yeah, I got a bit of a tan. If you want to avoid situations like this getting worse, avoid the sun. I do try and avoid the sun, but I also like to have fun with my children when I'm on holiday as well. So it's kind of getting that balance and making sure you wear a hat. Now, a lot of people have melasma going up to their actual hairline. You need to bring it into your hairline if that is the case. You can always wipe your hair down. So now we're going to be moving on to foundation, and today I'm going to be using this foundation. This is the Maybelline Superstay 24-Hour Skin Tint. This is in the shade 34, which is definitely my summer shade. It's a little bit deeper. So I'm going to keep with this same MAC brush, and I'm going to tap into this. And I am going to apply the foundation in the parts of my face where we have the hyperpigmentation, and then I'll go over the rest afterwards. Okay, so it feels alien to do it like this, but yeah, it kind of works. So I am just going to tap very gently. What you do not want to do is start moving any of that product around at all, because the minute you do, you're going to undo what you've done. I always feel that using a full coverage concealer prevents the need for a full coverage foundation, and you just want to bring that foundation then down to the rest of your forehead so that everything will start to look more blended in. So just take time to do that. Don't forget your hairline. And obviously blend into the rest of the face. And I'm also going to correct and conceal my under eyes. I would be happy to leave it as it is. However, if you still, after you've applied the foundation, if you still feel like you can still see quite a bit of it, I would pick a full coverage liquid concealer. This one is a great one from Maybelline. This is the Lifter Full Coverage Serum Concealer, and pop a bit on the back of your hand. This is in the shade 50, and I'm going to take a little bit on my finger and I'm going to tap it over that area. If you still feel like you want perfect coverage, pick a liquid concealer, not the full coverage one from before. I just feel like if you build creams on creams on creams, it can get a little bit heavy. I'm going to leave it there, even though you can still see a little bit of it. That's normal, all right? No one is going to be looking at you and honing in on your age spots, on your melasma, on your hyperpigmentation. They're just not going to. But as opposed to how it was before, I mean, that is such a great improvement. Whereas before I had a noticeable patch on the top of my forehead and now I don't. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set that in place, and there's two parts to this. So the first part is I'm going to use a pressed powder. This is the Easy Bake Pressed Powder by Huda Beauty. I really like this shade. It's called Peach Cupcake. So again, going for that peachy tone. And I'm going to use a brush like this. This is my notoriously old and haggard Morphe brush. It's just an eyeshadow brush, but it's angled and dense. So I'm going to tap into that and I'm going to press over really lightly the concealing that I've just done. Again, we're not going for perfection. Like, that's not what we're aiming for here. So the final step for me is going to be setting this all in place with a setting spray, a fixing spray. So I am actually going to use my favorite fixing spray. This actually makes sure that your makeup doesn't budge at all. And I'm just going to spray it in this area. And this doesn't make the skin dewy. It just leaves a really natural finish. You don't want a dewy setting spray because that's just going to emphasize anything that's going on your head or on your cheeks. And just going to let that dry. So I am definitely at a stage now where I'm happy to leave that where it is. I do not hyperfixate over my hyperpigmentation, and I definitely don't do this on a daily basis because I absolutely cannot be bothered. And I know that it's only me that's fixating on it. Nobody else cares about my hyperpigmentation, my melasma, my discoloration on my face. Nobody cares about it but me. There's a lot of steps there, but if you want to have a little bit of camouflage, I would recommend those steps, and honestly they really do work, and then it will stay there all day as well. So do let me know, do you have any tips and tricks for concealing hyperpigmentation or discoloration on the face? Let us know everything down in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I so appreciate you being here with me. I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next video, but until then, take care and bye for now.